you have this Nike announcement. Colin Kaepernick is back. Of course he's back. And Gabe, I was watching your video, St. John the Philosopher on YouTube. Highly recommend you go follow him on Twitter. What's the Twitter at?
Philosopher_ST.
Yeah, got it.
Yep.
Go follow him and
Please do.
Yeah, and watch his content that he puts out. The video that I watched last, was it the N-word tape?
N-word tape. I had it. I had it.
Yeah. So you watch these tapes, this content that Gabe puts out, and you are somebody who, well, just describe yourself to people. You're black. I'm going to tell everybody that because it's radio, and they may not know that immediately.
I'm a black man. I grew up in the hood, but got an education, got a good job, live in the suburbs now.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah. No, it's. We were discussing off air how the conversation that surrounds things like the Colin Kaepernicks, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the Aretha Franklin eulogy that was given, where the pastor who eulogized Aretha Franklin is getting a lot of heat for some of the things he said during that eulogy.
Yes.
And anytime you're in a position where, if you're a white person and you're commenting on anything that has to do with race, you're putting yourself out there. I know for a fact that you could clip, if you took 10 seconds of something I say completely out of context, it would make me look like a terrible person. If somebody listens to the long form conversation, maybe not so much. Tony Colombo has some quotes here from one Maxine Waters about Kanye West. And Gabe,
Maxine.
I want your reaction to these quotes. Tony, please play the. Can you do Maxine Waters like you can do Bernie Sanders?
I can only do impeach 45. That's my only Maxine Waters impersonation.
Regis Sanders.
But yes. I love Maxine Waters' news, right? I mean, her hypocrisy and it's on full display every time she speaks, and so I have a particular radar on her when it comes to just about anything, and I thought this was really something. She was talking about Kanye West and Kanye West's support of the president, and she said that Kanye West, quote, talks out of turn, sometimes needs some assistance in helping him formulate some of his thoughts. That's a quote. She also goes on to say that she questioned whether or not Kanye understands the impact of his praise for Trump or how it resonates in the black community, specifically with young people. Another quote, maybe he should think twice about politics and maybe not have so much to say.
Gabe?
Right. Yes. Okay. So imagine a rapper who has espoused something on the left wing and express support of a left wing person, and a right wing representative said all of those same things.
It's a flip test.
Imagine the reaction.
I'm uncomfortable thinking about it.
Yes, it makes you swerve, doesn't it? Yes, the flip test really works. It really does, because it exposes the hypocrisy of it. Because if we're aiming for a society that doesn't see race or skin color as relevant to politics, relevant to how we deal with one another, relevant to ideas, then all of these things are not that. So, Maxine Waters is just.
Do you think Maxine Waters is relying on people to see skin color in order to continue to be able to do what she's doing?
I think a lot of leftist politics is based around the importance of skin color, and they promote it every single day. That's how they win elections.
I haven't heard Maxine say about LeBron James, Colin Kaepernick, who we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
She's expressed specific support of Kaepernick.
I haven't heard. Yeah, she says
he didn't speak out of turn.
Maybe, and she hasn't told them to think twice about politics and maybe not have so much to say because they're not politicians, but they support her message.
It's an Anchorman clip. Hey, champ, why don't you sit out the next couple of plays?
Sit out the next.
Speaking of Kaepernick, you have Colin Kaepernick, who's right back up there in front of your face, in your news feeds, and your social media feeds, and believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything.
Yes.
I couldn't think of a better slogan to go along with law enforcement officers. To turn it around. And we've got a poll up right now at facebook.com/Annie Fry Show. And just curious.
I voted.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. Who do you think Who do you think does that better?
Yeah,
who believes in something that is worth sacrificing everything better? Colin Kaepernick?
I'm pretty sure it's our people in blue, yeah.
What do you think about, like, the Colin Kaepernick thing to me is complicated because, like so many other things, the two sides that are arguing back and forth are arguing about different things.
Yeah, they seem to be, although so often the language gets muddled on purpose, I think, because the fight is important. The fight is where you raise your money for your campaigns. It's where you say, oh, well, we support this, and now we're going to have an awareness campaign, and the awareness campaign is getting funded by whoever. So all that, I think it's built into the system of it. But my response of it though on Twitter and Facebook was pretty much to post the clip of the Run DMC song "My Adidas."
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of
where you're at on this
in reference to Nike. So the thing is, what's really at root here is that the flag and the national anthem, these symbols of our national unity, they are the things that we're supposed to unite under. They're actually they're the symbolic references to the ideal that America's supposed to be,
without shedding our differences.
Yeah.
Yet still standing next to each other for one thing that unites us.
Yes, the e pluribus unum, right? It's like out of many one. That's the idea. So if in place of the flag, basically you have the Constitution, and Constitution is that ideal to which we're all supposed to be aspiring. Now, if the problem is people aren't being treated fairly in the country, that is the referent that we use as a nation to say, hey, we're not living up to this. When you sit down for the anthem, when you say I'm not going to stand for a flag that blah blah blah, you're removing the referent that you need to appeal to in order to make the change. Mm-hmm. So now you've totally upended the whole thing.
You've distracted your entire audience.
Yeah, and you've destroyed your ability to bring people together under that ideal.
Do you think that? I mean, wholeheartedly, honestly, do you think that Colin Kaepernick, at the very beginning of this, before, what are we, 2 full years into this now?
2016 it happened, I believe.
So 2 years into this, let's reverse the clock back to when he did have a uniform, and he was on a quarterback on a football team. And he was previously sitting out the anthem, and then he, as the story goes, went and knelt because somebody in the service said it would be more respectful for you to kneel than to just totally sit the thing out. Do you think he was setting out to change the world and to make it better?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, well, in his heart of hearts, he thought maybe this was the best way to use my fame, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. But of course, we don't see that in other venues. We don't see that in other ways. So then you're left with the not benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
that's in the back of your head. It's like, nah, he was doing this because he was benched. They need a little attention. Mm-hmm.
It's not the same, so I'm not going to say that it's equal, but I guess it's sort of similar. Just being a female in a man's world, there's been songs written about it. It's a man's world, but the interesting thing about that is that I understand that historically, most work environments are a man's world, but I also know that I get to bring to the table what I bring to the table, whether I'm a man or a woman.
Right.
I do know that if I choose to be a victim, I will be treated like one.
Yes.
I do know that if I come to the table and bring whatever I have to bring to the table, that I will be looked at as an equal. But it almost ends up being up to me in that scenario. I don't know if race is exactly the same thing, but I do know that there are instances where I can look at a situation, whether it's at work or with maybe like a group that I'm involved in or whatever it might be, and I can see instances where I think a woman is treated differently because she's a woman. Mm-hmm. I think that I can see the same thing with race. I think that I can look at a scenario where a black person is pulled over because they're black, and that's not right. It's not fair.
Right. It's definitely one of those things where sometimes we're so busy fighting the instances that are being called racist that aren't racist that we are making we're making the suggestion that it's never racist. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That there are never instances.
It becomes
but that's
tribal.
Not true. That's not true, obviously.
Yeah, and we get so wrapped up in it that whatever. That's the hugest frustration that I have with the entire Kaepernick thing. and ultimately with Nike selecting him to be this spokesperson or inspirational whatever, is that there, even if it's just 1%, if there's any truth whatsoever in what Colin Kaepernick is trying to bring to the table, I'm willing to listen. That doesn't mean after the end of whatever he has to say, I'm going to agree with anything that he says. Maybe I'll agree with everything. I don't know. But to me, it seems as though the movement is politically hijacked. I know that the people on the right will say that Trump made it that way. But nonetheless, where we are right now, what do you think, being somebody who's conservative but also an African American, where is the right place to land here? Like, do you have advice
on this particular issue?
On the Colin Kaepernick scenario, the kneeling, Nike?
Well, I guess the thing is just to caution against extremism, basically on either side. It's yes, you do want to come out strong against falsehood when you see it. It's false to say that there's an epidemic of black people being gunned down by rogue cops out there just looking to pop a cap in a black guy. That's not actually happening. But there are instances of racial discrimination everywhere, right? And we do need to root those things out. So while we're fighting against the falsehood, we need to make sure that we're always pumping up. But if you show me where there's a problem, if you show me where the discrimination is, then I'll be right there to fight it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you stick around for a while?
Oh, definitely.
All right, we got some phone calls we're going to get to. 314-241-9797, 314-241-9797. Your reactions to the Nike announcement, the eulogy that was given at Aretha Franklin's funeral. Is that over yet? Is the funeral over yet? Is that done?
I think it's scheduled for 2020.
I didn't know if Aretha's funeral or if John McCain's memorial was going to end first. We should have taken bets on that.
Yeah.
We'll talk